Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to JR's Go Live Sherpa show. We are coming to you live from Charlotte. We've got a special person today that's visiting with us. His name is Sean Kaiser. And Sean has been through a remarkable exodus of corporate to self actualization in the perfect world of consulting and entrepreneurial. And we are going to get to that right now. Well, hey, Sean, how are you doing, bud?
Hi, JR. Doing great. Great.
So Sean is, full disclosure, I've known this guy for several years and we're great friends. And he's someone that I enjoy and admire because he's got positive energy. And I want him to share some of that energy with you folks because, like myself, he's been on sort of an exodus and sort of a self discovery without sounding hokey. And when you hear this story, don't get jealous, don't get envious, get motivated. Get motivated to find what you own because all of us have great stories that are out there with just us as the lead character. And Sean right now is living that out. And I just love it. So Sean, welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And you're not from around these here parts. You sound like you talk kind of funny, man. Where are you from?
Yeah, man. I'm from nowhere. I'm a nomad. First of all, the feeling is so mutual about our friendship and the energy that you bring. Every time from the first day I met you at a photography session and we talked about glass photography and other things and cars and your background, it's just always been such a special thing. So thank you for that friendship in this time.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm just a nomad. My dad was an Air Force pilot, and so I was from everywhere and nowhere. From being born in Kansas City to Colorado Springs to California, then to Panama Canal Zone, then back to California, then to Florida. Just a vagabond. So, and then it ended up around the Southeast mainly. So I got a little bit of that Southeast in me, but I've got some pepper from everywhere else too.
Well, now your last port of call before Charlotte, you've been here now, what, a dozen years or something like that?
Yeah, coming up on 15.
Cool. Time's fun when you're having flies. That's what the frog said, bro.
That's good. I dig that. That's good.
Sorry. Anyway, there's more guys, so but
love it.
You have an interesting background to me because you have a science and an arts side. You have like a marketing side.
Mm-hmm.
And a scheduling thing and a planning thing. But then on the other side, it's Sean the artist. And before we get to phase two, let's talk about phase one and you in the big industry and what brought you to Charlotte.
Yeah. So just I'm an accidental tourist. As an undergrad, I was a marketing major and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. All I wanted to do was play baseball and guitar. And I had to do an internship, and I read an article that said healthcare marketing comes into its own. And I had to do an internship, so I picked up the Yellow Pages and went to the first hospital that showed up in the Yellow Pages, which was West Florida Regional Medical Center in Pensacola, Florida, where I was an undergrad. And I asked if they had an internship program, and the operator said, I don't know. So she sent me to the administrator. His name is Jack Bovender, who eventually became the president of the entire company, HCA. And he said, what do you want? And I said, do you have an internship in marketing? And he said, I don't know. What do I get? And I said, you get me for a few months and I get to learn marketing. And he said, come on in. And I did an internship. And after I finished school, I learned a little bit about advertising and strategic planning and some other things. And I left and pursued a completely different career for 2.5 years, and owned a Champs Sporting Goods store in Kansas City, Missouri. I'd worked for them during school, and they gave me that chance to purchase into a store. So I sold sporting goods and ran a store, and they were bought out by a much larger conglomerate. And we moved and was trying to decide what to do. And I got a call from an HCA executive and said, would you be interested in talking about marketing and planning and hospital administration with us? And I said, well, first of all, how do you even remember me? And I'll never forget the words. It was Mr. Bovender, and he said, we saw something. And they offered me a job with no experience in marketing and planning, and that led to 7 months later becoming an assistant administrator of a hospital. No interest in healthcare, fell into it, was given a chance that I did not deserve, and had some passion for helping people heal and creating environments where they could heal. And there was my healthcare career that has been the other half of me for all these years as a hospital administrator then. And then I had a crisis of conscience where I decided that for-profit medicine was not something I could support. And this was still is a very large for-profit healthcare system. I totally appreciate everything they did for me, and I respect everything they do then and now. But I just philosophically struggled with for-profit medicine. And it was one of those things I needed to come to terms with. So I left and got into the quality world. Also accidentally was able to study Dr. W. Edwards Deming while I was with HCA, and fell into that quality improvement world. There's the science side, and the two worlds of hospital administration and quality improvement led me to consulting in healthcare quality improvement and service excellence, and then to running a hospital in Savannah, Georgia, being lucky enough to be the operations vice president over Candler Health System, back to consulting, and then to my last stint here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I came to open a hospital with my consulting firm in Huntersville, North Carolina for Novant. And
Wow.
When we opened the hospital in Huntersville, the CEO said, we'd like you to stick around and stay with us. And I said, I'm happy in Nashville with my consulting firm. And they said, we'd like you to stick around and help us. And I said, I'm happy. And they said, we'd like you to stick around. And next Monday, I stuck around. I've been here ever since. So it just kind of worked out. Had several different roles within that healthcare system, and all of them glorious. And
I never thought I'd consulted in aerospace, and I get involved heavily with ASQC, and actually I got my green belt, believe it or not.
all right.
Because how many other headhunters are going to have a green belt?
That's right.
And so, but I never thought of it. But I mean, continuous process improvement and stuff like that, that's endemic to any corporate thing that's a repetitive.
Anywhere.
Yeah, it just never occurred to me. I was too busy trying to get rocket scientists placed,
That's right. Well, I mean, I had no idea. None of us did then. We had no idea what we were in when we were studying under Dr. Deming, who was the founder of everything you just mentioned. He was the originator of all that. And
it's amazing.
I followed him around for 2 years until he passed away in 1989, and learned everything we could from him, and then started teaching his principles in healthcare. And with two physicians who sponsored it all, Dr. Paul Batalden and Dr. Don Berwick. And Dr. Don Berwick, they were practice partners, they were pediatricians. And Dr. Berwick went on to found the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, which is the largest healthcare think tank in the world now. And he was President Obama's director of Medicare and Medicaid. And so these two guys who just thought there was a theory out there has now become the norm in healthcare and industry across the world.
It's
pretty
great.
Cool. We just felt lucky. It was nothing. I was one of those kids going, I'll try it, and I had no idea what I was getting into.
So hero worship, and I don't mean to go down this side road, but you actually knew Dr. Deming?
Knew him, sat next to him, studied under him for over a year. And our firm, Executive Learning, was one of his lab places for things. And so we did follow him around and got to participate in the famous red bead game. And for 90% of the people who would ever see this cast would not know what that is. But for people in management and in quality science, the red bead game is like participating in a Freud or a Jung experiment in psychology. And I was in it 3 times with him. I was one of his willing workers, and he was my boss.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, great. That's something on your CV that's a very impressive hidden Sean Kaiserism.
Yeah, hidden lucky fell into it thing.
Yeah, you're very fortunate to even have an association with him, let alone the collaboration to the depth that you did.
He was very insightful about where we are with quality in the world. Some of his words before he passed away, he said, I don't want to be remembered as the man who caused Japan to succeed, because the Toyota production model is pretty much his model,
Yeah.
and America to fail. And it's because the West tends to jump on fads and not follow through with any of them, but get real excited about something new and interesting and then not follow through with them, whereas they did stay with it and follow through with it. And the rest of it is history, from Sony to Toyota to Matsushita to Nissan, to name the companies. They're all embedded in his management theory.
Exactly. But what is it? It's TPM or something like that. Toyota
TQM. The
TQM.
Toyota production model is TPM, is the Toyota production model.
TPM, yeah, because I remember reading about that, and that was the corporate precursor to everything.
It was. It sure was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so there's the data and the nerd side.
Yeah. Okay, rest of the audience can come back now that we've had our little whatever.
I know, that's right. That's right.
So everything kind of sucked, even though it didn't, and you weren't having your inner Sean fulfilled. You were getting compensated well, but just like a lot of classical psychology, money is not a satisfier. It only is a negative satisfier up to a certain degree of when you have enough, then you can't really get that complete thing going on. And so you were going for your self-actualization. And so, so you left this big company locally on very good terms. And they said, come back anytime you want.
They really did. Yeah.
I know, because I know people that I did some research. I've been shadowing you, and I'm very proud. Like one time,
I hope he didn't find those files. You know,
yeah,
they're out there somewhere.
No, there were some good pictures in them, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
Hey, one time, everybody, I walked into a waiting room, and I hear this familiar voice, and I look up, and there's my friend Sean Kaiser saying, "Well, now that you're here, welcome." And I'm like, oh God, I can't get rid of this guy.
Welcome to Novant Healthcare. That was in every clinic in the system. That's right.
I'm like,
the funny thing is that one of the fun stories about that video, where I welcome people to the healthcare system, there was that video ran for almost a year after I left, and they didn't realize it was still running. And I had people, dear friends in the system, who would call and say, "Sean, it's still on. It's still on." And as recent as about 7 months ago, people were still saying, "You're still welcoming everybody to the health system." I've been gone almost a year. So it was really comical.
Yes, news of my departure is much exaggerated, only not that much.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So you left.
Yeah, I left, JR, as much for that as another reason. I had as nature and the beauty of this life that we don't understand would have it. I took the hospital job where I took it because my parents lived in Panama City, Florida, and I had a choice to go to about 3 different cities, and I picked that one because I thought I could spend some time at home. And then I realized why. Right after I took this big job, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was only given a few months to live. And I was the assistant administrator in the hospital when he was dying on our cancer unit, and while he was passing, my daughter was being born on the 2nd floor, right below where he was. And the day she was born, March 23rd, they wheeled her hours after they cleaned her up and got her stable, and they wheeled her down to see my dad, or up to see my dad. And he held her. I have a picture of this on my website. He held her and said, "You be a good little girl. I love you." And he passed away just days later. And that moment was the tipping point, where I said, I'm going to be a part of something. I don't know what it'll be, where we can help life be graciously and lovingly welcomed and spirited in. And we're going to help those who are leaving us and transitioning to some other place go lovingly and with joy and with sorrow, and to make it possible. And he got to hold her and care for her. And so that quite literally launched my entire healthcare practice, which was to work on the topics of empathy and compassion in an industry that is not known for it quite as much anymore. And it was that moment that changed everything. My dad's passing and my daughter's birth. It's the epitome of how the circle of life works right there in my own little shop, and that's why I live there, and that's what started everything.
Well, we have people from far away saying hello to us, and
Nice.
this is one of my new photography friends who's just started in the business.
All right.
And she's from New Orleans. And then there's Bruce Mills, and Bruce is from the area. You'll meet him sometime. I'm going to get him up to the club.
Great.
We need to talk about music because the weekend's
the
coming.
picture right behind me is New Orleans. So in tribute to your friend, this is I'm at
Victoria
at Laurel's house, and another New Orleans person, and this is a picture from New Orleans. So that's kind of fun that we have that connection.
So let's move forward. Although that was a remarkable circle of life image.
Thanks, buddy.
It's going to remain in my heart for a while.
Thank you.
Because my mom's kind of frail, and so I'm kind of sensitive about stuff like that. Tell me about Sean and guitars and music.
So there in Panama City, I was in high school, and I was a senior in high school, and we went to a music store, the only music store in Panama City at the time, Lights Music, and I was with my friend Pancho Golden. And we were in our baseball gear. We were both players in seniors in high school and on the baseball team. And we went there after practice because he had to pick up an instrument piece for his brother. And I was just standing there in my uniform and signed up for this little raffle for an Alvarez guitar giveaway. I didn't know anything about guitar or music. I'd never been in a band, never played in a band, never did any choir. And 2 weeks later, I get a call at WPFM in Panama City. You won the Lights guitar giveaway. And I went, wow, and I went down, I got an Alvarez guitar, and I had two buddies, Greg Todd and Tony Emanonic, who played guitar in a little high school band. And I just went and sat and watched them play and didn't know anything about music and just watched them play. And the next summer I was playing at the beach bars in Panama City Beach and Destin and Pensacola. And we had a little trio that was called Soft Touch. And we did the music of Kenny Loggins and Jim Croce and Dan Fogelberg and the Eagles, and spent our summers playing music along the beach. And that was the launch of everything from songwriting to performing to where I'm most comfortable, which is not on the stage. My greatest comfort is getting other people up on stage and letting artists have exposure and getting them out in front of people and advocating for songwriting and especially anything original. So that began with an accident, like everything else, an accident. I won a raffle and thought, well, I should learn to play it. I don't want to get rid of it, and played it, and the rest is history. And I'll be playing tonight at 8 o'clock. So here I am all these years later because of a guitar raffle.
And Sean's got this great venture that he started. It's a little wine place that they have music and entertainment and fun and great food. Some of the best chefs in Charlotte work for Sean Kaiser.
Oh, that's nice.
It is.
Yeah,
it's true.
The Wine Loft, which is actually not my venture. It is Dan Weiss, my great business partner and great friend. His vision was to open a whiskey and cigar bar that I'm sure you mentioned. And in the meantime, wanted to get his teeth cut on running something, and knew I had a great passion for wine and a great passion for music. And he wanted those two features to be very prominent, and said, come join me and let's talk about our brand, and let's build something with the Wine Loft and get our teeth cut on running restaurants and bars and having live music venues and turning something that wasn't known for food into something that is known for food. And then while we're doing that, open this other shop, which just opened 12 weeks ago. And thanks to Dan and his great vision to expand from his technology world, he sold his company and decided he wanted to pursue a hospitality passion that he's always had. And like every other accident, I was lucky enough to be friends with him and coffee buddies with him. Actually, we used to share coffee and Valentine together at a place we frequented called Rush, that some people will remember well. And we would sit and have coffee together and found our common interest in wine, coffee, and music. And here we are today. We've got the Wine Loft and now another shop, and the music's a very, very big part of it.
And so you've got something special going on this weekend. Tell me about that a little bit.
So you must be talking about the vintage at the
vintage
cigar place.
Yes,
so the entrepreneurial side of us is because we love hospitality, since customer service and service experience has been my role, like my corporate role was chief experience officer for the health system. And so my job is to think about what do customers experience and how do we improve that? Well, just translating that over into our wine and whiskey and cigar and music passions. Our new place, the Vintage Whiskey and Cigar Bar, has our first annual Habana Festival tomorrow on the 22nd. And that's, it's a members club, but non-members can come and buy tickets for a little bit more than the members do. And we'll have just a beautiful lineup and buffet of remarkable cigars from all over the world, but certainly Dominican Republic and Nicaragua and these beautiful cigars. And we have authentic Cuban food being delivered to us by El Patron, a Cuban food truck. We wanted to have the food truck atmosphere out there, and some wonderful Latin music happening there, not live, but music that we just have specially crafted and curated for this event. So we're just excited. I was not a cigar smoker, and I'm just a little bit of one now. But I do love the whiskey, and I do love all things Latin and Miami and Cuban, and I just love that energy and that vibe. It just is very consistent with my personality. So that's going to be a real fun time. It'll be our first big event.
Where do you see all this going? I mean, you've evolved from some corporate dude and this quality guy who's doing statistical analysis and, to some, but there's still some science to your art. There's always a two-headed.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much. It is art and science, just like medicine. I mean, medicine is art and science. And being a hospital administrator most of those years, we have the science, and then we have, what do I think? What do I feel? What do I believe? What's going to touch my patients? What's going to touch my audience? What's going to touch my wine lovers? And, it's one thing for me to talk about the craft of winemaking and the fermentation and the production process and the harvesting and all that. And then when it comes down to it, you and I both know this together as friends, when it comes down to it is, how did it make you feel? How did it taste? And what did I get from that? And even the emotions that come with it. So it is all about, whether it's the music and the technical elements of music, or it's the technical elements of winemaking and wine production, it gets down to how does it affect you emotionally? How do you feel about it? And that's the part that I dig. So I think I'm just blessed to be an appreciator of the left side of it all, whatever it happens to be. Running things, managing things, producing things, mixing things, and then but my nature and my love is on the right side, and it's going to be in the part you feel, so I think it can go anywhere.
That's the part that's the rocket fuel, because without passion, we live in a vacuum. Without music,
what a great line! Yeah.
Without music, I forget who it was. I think it was Churchill. In the depths of the war, and they were talking about getting rid of the London Symphony. And I don't have a stogie here, but he said, "Dear fellow, what do you think we're fighting for?"
Oh, that's just, it's just beautiful.
Isn't that right? Winston. But
yeah,
gosh, every day I need to. I am an addict, and I do not want a 12-step program. I want more music. I can never get enough. I wake up in the morning, entertaining my friends, singing silly songs outside from 80 years ago in some cases.
Yeah.
Just different things from different whatevers. And I like the roots of jazz, the roots of rock and roll. And there's so much wealth.
Oh, what a good word.
To the culture of America. And, it seems like we're still, I don't know where the music is right now exactly. It's hard to put your finger on it because I'm not a big, okay, guys. I mean, look, I'm white, okay? Not much of a rap guy. It's just, I'm a 60s guy, 70s guy, 80s guy, rock and roll. Did the photography with the bands and stuff like that, on the road with ZZ Top and, all these other bands that I was with back then. it was quite a while.
But here I am at my age, and I'm an absolute. I think where music is right now is one of its best times. I get annoyed, but more humored by any of us, myself, who would say, "Oh, it was the '60s, it was the '70s, it was the '80s, it was the '90s."
That's when it ended. The day the music died. They even made a song about it.
And the reality is, right now, my playlist, my Spotify is loaded with current singer-songwriters, and I will put them up against the best songwriters ever. I'll put them up against John Lennon. I'll put them up against Billy Joel. I'll put them up against anyone. And I think it's a beautiful time to explore the art of these kids, and these, not just kids, but older folks that are just discovering everything from indie to Americana to folk rock again, to some of these things that are being lather, rinse, repeated from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, just with a new energy. And, we used to get programmed into, we only got to hear whatever the record companies released to the radio.
Exactly.
So we thought those 14 songs were the only songs that ever mattered. And now we have access to millions of songs from hundreds of thousands of artists. So I happen to think musically, I'm thrilled with where we are today.
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful time to be a music lover, because you can hear anything you want to, anytime you want to. And what's better than that? Last night, right here, smoked something on the barbecue, opened a beautiful Round Pond Cabernet Sauvignon, and traded back favorite songs on Spotify back and forth and saying, "Do you remember this? Do you remember this?" And did that for hours. I think that's a good life right there. And a bunch of those songs are from right now.
And it's like even with the wines, the different things where who thought about getting something from Australia or Argentina or whatever, and now
that's
those
right.
are some
That's
of the finest wines out there. Not to go back too far, but I was just thinking of things like all these great new mixtures with Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga and all these other younger art. Well, everybody's younger than him.
Perfect example.
Yeah. And
there's a guy who's ancient and could be stuck in the standards, and he goes out and looks for young contemporary artists to collaborate with and makes absolute masterpieces out of it.
Yeah, and so why can't two quote dudes with a certain amount of age on them like us? Why can't we find new music?
Absolutely, every day.
I didn't do this a couple of years ago when I met you. I just talked about it excitedly at a music event a couple of years ago and said, "Sean, you're going to be on one of my shows, brother." And I don't even know what it is, but you're going to be there.
There's something to talk about. There's always something to talk about. Yeah.
And now I'm doing this, producing for other people, call myself the Go Live Sherpa and all this other weird stuff. And, there is a great book that is going to be written, and it stars you. And you need to know. You need to know where this book is, because there's only one you, and there's two of us here, and we didn't know. I mean, the chapters are crazy. I mean, who would have thought some dude in a hospital would be getting excited about a Latin cigar, yada yada event here?
Absolutely.
But
I think the reason for that, and the people who watch your show, I think the reason for that is because we are perpetual learners and we're curious. My mom passed away 3 years ago, February. She died at 91. She was the most curious person I ever knew in my entire life.
Wow.
And that's what kept her so alive, is she was interested in everything. It wasn't about just nostalgia. No, she wanted to know what was happening right then. Who do I vote for president? Why should I do that? And she was interested in that in her 90s, wanting to know, what to think politically and how to be, So I hope that our curiosity causes us to become producers, causes us to become better musicians or producers of something else, or in my case, a wine enthusiast where, several years ago, I just listened to someone say, "Try this." And before you know it, it becomes a passion. I think that perpetual learning and curiosity is the secret, not a secret, secret.
The beautiful thing about right now is we live in a time of lots of information. Man, I'm glad I didn't have this when I was a kid, because I was busy enough getting into trouble back then as it was without the internet. But you can look up anything.
Yeah.
you know, and but the thing about it is, what are you looking up? Because you can look up anything. And sometimes I go down these rabbit holes, like in my conversational dynamic. Sometimes I got to pull myself back out so we can get back with everyone else.
Yeah.
But the focus and the discipline of knowing a little bit, knowing, excuse me, a little bit about everything, but a lot about certain things. You have to
Yeah.
know who you are. You have
Very
to know
much.
who you are, and you have to know where you're going. If you
And I
don't
think
know where you're
I get a little
going, how can
closer,
you get there?
each day. After all these years, I'm closer.
Excuse me.
Took that long to know exactly where I was going, and I think it's a little closer today than it was yesterday. It's certainly closer today than it was a few months ago, and certainly was a few months ago more than it was 2 years ago. And I completely dig that. I think it's fun to wake up. My mom, another one of her Pattyisms was, and this is actually inscribed on her gravestone in Pensacola. It is always have something to look forward to. And that's become, I've adopted that mantra. And I think that's part of what will be the next chapter, you know, whether it was wines and music and whiskey and cigars with Dan and, you know, consulting around empathy and compassion and reintroducing humanity into healthcare. That's all nothing more than a product of being curious and saying, let's look forward to something else.
You know what the nice thing is about being us, other than we're cool guys and we're great friends,
Cool, guys. Yeah.
is I'm, there's a lot of people that hit a certain age and it's like, okay, now you stop working and now you collect money and now you sit back and you play golf and you make plans for trips and all that stuff's good. But here's what's really exciting, Sean. This is honest truth. This is arthritic Boy Scout honor, arthritic truth.
Get on.
I can't wait to see how I turn out.
Yeah.
Because I'm still working on it, man, and you're still working on it. I can't wait to see how you turn out because it's been a wonderful evolutionary process that we've shared with each other and encouraged and followed. And who would have thought some guy arranging some talent at the Crew and other places would create an obviously tremendous management acumen, tremendous insight into trending. And I remember when you went up to Indianapolis to go to all the great cigar bars up there because someone told you to.
Yeah.
And not everybody would do that.
But Dan said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So
yeah.
let's go benchmark the people who are doing it the best so we can come back and create something that special in the place that doesn't have it. And he's sure that that benchmarking visit turned out to be a gem for us because we decided what not to do as much as we decided what to do, and it's worked itself out nicely.
It's great because you learn from others' mistakes without actually having to pay the price.
That's right.
Because people always want to tell you how they effed up.
They did.
You know?
They did.
Because no one wants to hear it.
The by having an awareness of the magic and of this life and the serendipity of it, we walked into the very first bar in Indianapolis. It was around the corner from our hotel. We walked in, the cigar sommelier was in the humidor. He was the first person we met in Indianapolis, and he looked at us and he said, "Where are you from?" We said, "Charlotte." He said, "Oh my gosh, I used to live in Charlotte." And I said, "You lived in Charlotte? You look familiar to me." He says, "Well, you wouldn't know me." He says, "I owned a little bar in downtown, a little town called Pineville." And I said, "Little brew bar?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I own that." And I said, "I played music for you 3 times there in your bar, and I hosted your open mic one night." He went, "Sean." I mean, the first person we saw in the town of Indianapolis was a person who lived in Pineville, North Carolina. I hosted music at his shop. That's just cool as hell. So much fun.
Talk about a book that's waiting to be written and it's already bound.
That's great. You know,
I love it.
As long as you're aware, as long as you're open and aware, things will pick up on it just the best.
The thing is you need to investigate and you need to move whichever direction you need to move. General Patton said, "A good plan executed violently today is far better than a perfect plan executed tomorrow."
Wow.
Just do something good.
He knew a thing or two about that. Yeah.
I overthink things. A lot of us do.
I'm an
you know,
overthinker, and I have, and when you
overplan.
combine an overthinker with absolute spontaneity, and they fight against each other every single day, where most of my life is what's going to happen in the next moment, and I'm open to that, and at the same time I've got that nerd side over there that wants to overthink it. I spend more time in needing therapy than anything else, so I have a
Oh
good time
my.
at it.
Well, with all your great connections, you probably know somebody there that's a.
I do.
Let's see. Do I want to talk to the Gestalt guy or the guy who's related to Freud? Or
Yeah, I want them all at the same time. I just want to get a jambalaya of all those different disciplines.
well, I got a feeling you find that in Spotify and things like that in the live stuff,
That's
you
where.
know, just
Yep.
to
I'll go
watch.
to a gallery. I'll go to an art gallery, and I'll open up Spotify, and I'll open up my books. I've just got more books that I can possibly read, and I go find those worlds in there in that piece, and try to turn off the cable, and turn off the cynicism, and turn off the unproductive life that's so much around us right now in the darkness, and just go find it in art and in conversations like this. This is just better.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. And the thing I wanted to ask you is what, okay, this is the distillation of the SK Sage Advice piece of the day. To the people that are watching, that have enjoyed this, as I have tremendously, my dear friend,
Me too.
what would your advice be to the people that are listening that you've learned that you'd love to share?
So, as cliche as it will sound, and it should, but it is absolutely true. It took this long in a series of Follow Your Heart, and I am surrounded by people every day who have not followed their heart. They've followed their academics, they've followed their planned worlds by their parents, they've followed their corporate ladder, and it doesn't mean they're unhappy, not at all. They're great, they're fantastic. But they spend more time talking about their regrets than they do what's possible. And I have had an extraordinary number of regrets, an extraordinary number of failures, and I have a big smile because I'm following my heart. Yeah, as recent as this week, I'm following my heart. So I would say follow your heart.
Well,
Period.
I would love for people to leave comments and to I meant to do this before. This is Sean's. That's how you get a hold of this dude at
Yeah.
humanity.com
Thank you. Yeah.
and 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 go into it because he's got a great story there. And maybe you're over in Europe like my friend Thomas is that's watching. I've got a
Wow. How
whole bunch of
cool.
friends. Yeah, I was hoping there's a couple people from the Far East that I thought, but I don't know what time it is there right now, but it's probably not appropriate timing, but they'll catch this. But
Wow.
but reach out to Sean and tell him something that you learned today.
And let me find out what I can learn from you.
Yeah,
I love to
yeah,
explore what everybody else is thinking out there because I just love it. So thank you
yeah.
for that.
And do if this is the first time you wander in here by accident, you were looking for the latest wine list or something, and somehow or another it showed up here because the word wine was on the
Yeah.
topic.
And
By
I'll send you
all
a great
means,
wine list.
yeah, I've got I've got this is a dear friend, and she's in town. Michelle, you need to go to
I
this
know
place.
Michelle.
Yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah. She's a wonderful person. I've known her
Yeah.
forever, and she's terrific. And my friend Charles Coachman is somebody else. You would love this guy, Sean. He's over on the left coast, and he sells real estate, and he's super successful and stuff. But he's such a good person,
I love
and
it.
and he anyway. Please subscribe, share, and let us know what's going on. Sean,
Mm.
I'm going to catch you in just a minute and finish my dialogue monologue here. Guys, it's been great. And I certainly hope that you've enjoyed it as much as I have. You can probably tell Sean's one of my really good friends, and he's made a difference in my life when I needed it. And you need friends in your life like that too, especially the person you look at in the morning in the mirror. That should be your best friend. God bless you all. Hope you have a great weekend and the rest of your life. And please join us again. Come and journey with JR.